you dare right now. Don't you dare. Don't you not dare tell me that that's it. No, I'm not a runner. No, I have to do it so you can make it better. No, I'm not running. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Yeah, that's why you're doing well. Because I have to do what I have to do, whether it hurt me enough for you to be fine and be sitting on this couch alive. I don't even want to thank you from you. I don't even want to. I don't need the real control. All right. But I will sit your mom here, and she knows that I was there, and she knows that I had to get up and go just so you can be who you are right now.
Show your face. Show your face, please, with sugar on top.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all know my slogan. I don't know it all, but I know what I've been through. Now, before we get into this video, make sure you check us out on Patreon at www.patreon.com/Hookah Anonymous _. You guys been telling us to create one for the longest, so we recently created a community where we will upload videos that we can't share on YouTube due to their guidelines. We'll also be dropping the latest to there first, behind the scenes information that you wouldn't find anywhere else on our socials. So make sure you become a member, and after you do that, head over to our official Instagram page at Hookah Anonymous _ and follow us there. Now, without further ado, let's get into what you guys came here to see. Now, this is a perfect example of when I say, if you live in a glass house, you shouldn't throw stones, right? Or the opposite when they say you shouldn't throw stones if you live in a glass house. Now, as y'all know, it has came out, the whole video about Diddy putting his hands on Cassie. And of course, everybody has something to say. You had this one saying, oh, Diddy, he put his hands on women. He's this, he's that. This one over there saying, oh, I would never do X, Y, and Z. But the problem is, a lot of these guys that's pointing fingers at Diddy got some skeletons in their own closet. And I've seen that a lot with this whole Diddy situation going on, whether it's people from podcasts, people on radio, some of these influencers and celebrities. The problem is everybody wants to point the finger as if they don't have their own stuff going on. And this is why I say, if you live in a glass house, do not throw stones, because at the end of the day, what you do shall be revealed at some point in time. You may think you're getting away with it, or it may have happened already, but at the end of the day, all shall be exposed. Now, in a case like this, especially with Joe Budden's, things have already been exposed in the past. But you know, as time go on, a lot of things happen and people tend to forget certain things, or it gets swept under the rug because so much things in this world is happening that people tend to forget. But when you is boisterous as Joe Budden and you want to be loud and you want to speak on other people's situations, your skeletons are eventually going to come out as well. And that's what we're seeing here. Now, for y'all that don't know who Tahiry is, I really don't know how to explain her because she did become popular from messing with Joe Budden in the past. Like, nobody really knew of her until she started messing with Joe Budden at the time. This is around when reality TV and all that love and hip hop stuff, that's like where it originated from. Like, before all the antics you see now, it was like Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, Love and Hip Hop New York. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, it started in New York. I'm not really sure, but I think the show ended in 2014, so that just lets you know how long ago this was. And before the show actually ended, Tahiry and Joe Budden, they was actually a couple for a very long time prior to that. It's just like one of those situations where they went on a show and things got a little bit heightened. Now, if y'all remember the show, they always had some type of back and forth, some type of drama, some type of infidelity, allegations, and rumors flying around. It was always some type of drama with Joe Budden and Tahiry. Now, aside from the show, it was clear that Joe Budden was laying hands on Tahiry. Now, for y'all that don't remember, Tahiry actually did an interview with Hollywood Unlocked, Jason Lee, about 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. To be exact, yes, it was in 2020. And they did an interview online where she described the type of beatings and stuff that Joe Budden would allegedly, perform on her. Now, in that same interview, Tahiry would make it known that she suffered from a fractured rib and a broken nose because somebody, whoever it was sending Joe Budden a message. I guess Joe Budden got jealous. She even says that he pushed her down a flight of stairs. She also recalled a time where she was sleeping She was going to actually leave his house because they had a home together, but she was going to leave the house and told him to give her 2 weeks. And she woke up to him basically dragging her by her ankle. It was just a whole bunch of stuff that she actually claimed that Joe Budden did. If y'all also remember the model from back in the days, the video model by the name of Esther Baxter, she also dealt with Joe Budden at a point in time, and she said that he allegedly beat her so bad that she suffered a miscarriage. Then you have Sin Santana, who was actually the mother of Joe's son. And if I'm not mistaken, it was in 2020 when she also came out and said that Joe Budden was abusive, accusing him of dragging her and also throwing her along with their child out of his house at one point in time as well. So as y'all know, where there's smoke, there's fire, and Joe Budden does have a history of women accusing him of putting his hands on them. Now, in the past, Joe Budden would never really deny the allegations. The only thing he would say is they were toxic. He would call them all type of names, liars. But it was one point in time when it came to Tahiry, when they was on Love and Hip Hop, Joe Budden actually apologized. Now, around that time, he said that he was doing drugs and, he wasn't in the right state of mind. I guess that was what he was blaming it on, but whatever, he did apologize. So this whole thing that they got going on right now is kind of weird because Joe did admit that he, was abusive in their relationship or whatever. And he actually apologized to her when they was on Love and Hip Hop. So him coming out now saying that it didn't happen or even speaking on Diddy, period, he should have just sat this one out. However, let's get into the brief back and forth between him and Tahiry and what they both had to say. Joe Budden, he actually will post a comment under, if I'm not mistaken, something that Tahiry said. It was a race, and then he took to his Instagram story to actually say something. Let's get into what Tahiry had to say first. She would respond underneath a post as she would say, quote, "This whole ish took me out. So hard to watch. So sorry for Cassie and every other woman who is currently going through it or has ever gone through it. It's tough." Now, I'm not sure if it was a Joe Budden comment that she seen, maybe him, bashing Diddy, and she decided to respond to it, or somebody else. But however, she would respond to the post as she would say, quote, "F out of here. Who? The irony. This is so triggering. I remember Joey throwing me down a flight of stairs, dragging me back into the house, and me having to talk him into letting me go." Now, Joe Budden would respond, but for some strange reason, like he says, it was actually taking it down. So he took to his own Instagram story and he would repost what he said, but he would caption it saying, quote, "They restricted my comment for some strange reason." And he put the little shrug emoji, and then he actually posted the comment where he said, quote, "At the real Tahiry, you are lying, failed gold digger that has abused, targeted, and manipulated many men. Outside of me, you lack an identity, which is why you've tried desperately to attach yourself to me for over 15 years. The last time I saw you, I purchased a mattress from you, and you were happy you made the sale. You were fine then. It was that night after Starlet 6 years ago when you invited me inside your new place. You were fine then too. You were on my body your entire last stint on Love and Hip Hop, and you tried your best to disrespect my son's mother in the process. I had to ask producers to keep you away from us like the cancer you are. Yet you continue to slight my name online because it's your identity. I don't speak to you or about you because it's low vibrational. You're a low-level Dykeman con woman that's been lying about, you already know, for ages. I pray you heal and move on one day. Hopefully, this is our last exchange. Prayer to all real victims." Now, let me say this. Joe might have a point, but I'm 50-50 on it, right? And here's why. For one, I do understand Joe Budden. What he's trying to say is she keeps attaching herself to him in some kind of way. If they was around each other, it's like, damn, why throw me under the bus? And we was already around each other. You're saying it's triggering, and you're trying to bring up old allegations and stuff that happened. But however, we're friends behind the scenes. However, Joe does have to understand, as a victim of abuse, especially when it comes to a relationship, she don't choose when to be triggered. That's not up to her. It's just she sees certain things, whether sometimes it could be a smell, it could be a place, it could be a thing, it could be a person, it could be anything that can trigger her to a situation that she had where she was abused. That's what he has to understand. So you can't say, "Oh, I was just around you and it was nothing." I get what he's saying, But once again, you can't tell her when and when not to be triggered. Especially when she sees somebody like Joe Budden's talking about Diddy in that situation, when she knows that he put his hands on her. It's like the audacity. You sitting here calling the kettle black. The pot calling the kettle black. That's what's going on. So of course, in her mind, she's like, the audacity for you to sit there and talk about Diddy when you pretty much done the same thing. And the problem I have with that situation, not just with Joe Budden, but everybody that has something to say about that Diddy situation. Him putting his hands on that woman is no good. We all know that. What I'm saying is, if you live in a glass house, you should not throw stones. A lot of people who have been accused or have some type of allegations of touching women when it comes to abusing them, you shouldn't have anything to say because you know different. That's like the drunken uncle telling his nephew not to ever drink beer, do liquor, or whatever. You got to lead by example. Ain't nobody going to listen to that. Right? You can't smoke a cigarette in front of somebody and say, well, don't smoke cigarettes. Cigarettes is bad. Well, they're going to say, well, you're doing it. You know, so I seen a lot of that going on with this whole Diddy situation. I personally feel if you're going to be an advocate for not putting your hands on women and all that stuff, you have to not have that in your background. Because if so, you'll just be labeled a fraud. And eventually, it'll catch up to you. Even if people done forgot about it, if it done got swept under the rug, eventually, all those backstories or whatever you did in the past, it'll eventually catch up with you. You know, the problem is a lot of these rappers and these guys that are converted into media and influencers, what's happening is a lot of these new age kids, they grow up and they don't really know who these people are because they aren't old enough to know the backstory and the history. But, you know, like I said, things like this will come abroad, and then next you know, people will find out who you really are and know your past, and that'll just be that. So y'all jump in the comments, let me know what y'all think about this. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. And remember, as long as you keep on watching, I'm gonna keep on dropping. And I'm out.